Just fucking do it. Subscribe now.
And perception is reality. If I'm not saying everybody, remember, not everybody in this room is going to make it. If you attempt QLA, you'll be better off than you were before you got here. We had a kid who said the seminar was less money in those days, 20 grand. And he said, how many times am I going to get my 20 grand back? Return on investment. I never thought of it that way. Fuck. How many is $1 billion on 20 grand? I don't know. So I started thinking about some of the guys. I said, I don't know. Way more times than you're going to pay for the seminar. 7 months later, he had $70 million. New York City, 70 million. We'll round it up, 8 months. When Sally and I went to have a drink with him in New York City, we were staying at the, I can't think of the name now. Anyway, remember the movie Back to the Future when he floated on a skateboard? Remember that? Sally said, is that Roberto? He says, he's floating in. It doesn't even look like he's walking. He floated in like Jesus. With a fucking smile this big. And he's the one that asked me, how many times am I going to get my 20 grand back? That's not how I look at the return on investment. How am I going to make your life and all the lives you touch? And Bruce Whipple and some of the other guys, and they, rightfully so, but I never looked at it this way. I changed Brian Rose's life for the good or the bad. He's got 6 or 8 million followers. Dan Locke, for the good or the bad. He's got, I don't know how many million followers. So I have touched the lives of these other assholes, which I don't really give a fuck about. That's the difference. They say they give a fuck about them, whether they do or not. I'm not saying Dan's lying. I'm not saying Brian Rose's lying. I'm not saying Bruce Whipple's lying. But they lead you to believe they care, right? I tell you flat out, I don't care. And the reason why I'm hard on the seminar is because it works. Why would I change the model when I've created more than $1 trillion? Why? Because I want you to like me? I don't think so. I acted this way when I didn't create any money through you meatheads. But you're afraid because you still want to be liked at some level. And I blame your parents. Who else am I going to blame? It's not a fault. It's not their fault. Now, I have had kids through here, their parents went out of their way to fuck about. I mean, really. Chain them to fucking, like a dog outside and shit. We've had those too. But I don't remember any of your descriptions that you were chained to, had to live outside, chained to a fucking tree. If I missed it, because I read all your paperwork. But we have had kids where the parents did go out of their way. And he was chained to a tree because his daddy was chained to a tree. Sound familiar? Most child abuse, sexual abuse, is because their parents were abused. But I mean it, you're doing something wrong. I can't believe that Canada is the only place in the world. Now, the cybersecurity firms, I can only speak for the United States for sure, were selling at, not on the public market, they were selling at between 15 and 16, 18 times EBITDA, cash flow. Okay. Okay. Before Corona. Yeah, I know the market, pinhead. And now they're 50% less. Now, you may not be good enough salesman to convince them that they're 50% less. I put on my website, anybody that bought a business in 2019, it's worth between 25 and 50% less this was April of this year. And I can show you the seller, the potential seller, I can prove it to him. You haven't been able to. But you couldn't give away sex to a fucking drunken sailor. I told you now, giving him the devil his due. If you have some sales skills, not great sales skills, because, I mean, look at him. Is there anything great about him? No. Okay? If you got some sales skills, you run, it's like you're in a, no, I don't want to say that, that's Catholic. You're in a, I got to say, you're in a nunnery and you're fucking all the virgins. If you got some sales skills. But you don't have to have any sales. Josh Kim's got not one fucking sales skill in his body. But he actually learned and believed. The last slide you're going to see, the last day, is KNOW, no. Knowing when to say no. That's the last slide of the seminar. Steve Jobs said, say no to 1,000 things before he died. That's how he got started. No to, I've said no to fucking 10 million things. But when you believe in the system, it's like American baseball. Ted Williams was the last guy to retire that had over a 400 batting average. 400, over 400. There hasn't been anybody since Ted Williams played baseball. And he had a lifetime average of 406 or something like that. Now, if I was going to go and play baseball, or my kids were going to play baseball, I'd go to him to be a batting coach. Okay? Babe Ruth, who retired from baseball 90 years ago, up until 10 years ago, led the National Baseball League with strikeouts, and he hadn't played baseball in 80 years. But he also was number 4 on the home run list. Okay? Because you can't hit for 6, you can't hit a home run unless you get on the pitch, the crease, and you swing it. Wait, you can't swing. You got to swing. You got to keep swinging. You've got to keep swinging because the system works. There's no question about whether the system works. Whether it works for you. And that's another, that I can't, you know, I can make you CEO of your little chicken shit company, but I can't make the board or your employees respect you. Respect is earned. And most of you don't have any leadership skills. You have not been put in a position to lead anybody to anything. You can't even get your wife to blow you. I mean, well, Jesus Christ. That's leadership 101. Honey, it starts here and ends here. That's it. We got nothing more to fucking talk about. And I don't know a male, whether he's gay or not, that doesn't like a blowjob. I don't know. I've never met one. Ever. Yet nobody gets blown anymore. There's a dichotomy there someplace. Yet I've never met a man that didn't want a blowjob. Some by other men, admittedly. Well, that's, you know, I don't give a shit. And yet it's the least thing on the bucket list of women to blow men. Now, personally, as a human being, as a man, I don't like that. But I should have lived 40,000 years ago. Dragging the old bitch off to the fucking cave. You have to show the people in Corona the value of your proposition. And the value of your proposition is probably nobody else is going to buy it. Buy it meaning their business. When you heard Gerard, they're afraid. They're afraid. Now we've got people in Canada knocking it out over the park. Tom McGuire being one of them. So, you know, it's you. At the end of the day, it all rests on you. And that's what people don't like about the program. Because for the first time in your life, either directly or indirectly, you're going to be held accountable. How am I going to know whether the accountability worked? Whether it's successful or not? Because we know the system works. Those businesses that are selling at 15, 18 times are now worth 8, 10. And unless, because that's just it. If you can't convey that message to them, then you ought to pivot or do something else. But all the businesses are worth less. And when we show you how to structure the deals in the next few days, you can structure the purchase price, but it's still going to be based on 50% less. But there's no question that it works. There was another hand up. Was there another hand? No, there wasn't another hand. Okay.
What are, say, 3 pieces of advice you would give to people who are looking to succeed in business?
Well, by far the best investment you can make is in yourself. I mean, for example, communication skills. I tell the students that come that they're going to graduate schools and business, and they're learning all these complicated formulas and all that. If they just learn to communicate better, both in writing and in person, they increase their value at least 50%. I mean, if you can't communicate, somebody says, it's like winking at a girl in the dark. Nothing happens, basically. And you have to be able to get forth your ideas. And that's relatively easy. I did it myself with the Dale Carnegie course. Some people wish I'd taken a shorter course now in terms of my talking later on. But it's just hugely important. And if you invest in yourself, nobody can take it away from you. I mean, the second thing, which I'll get a certain criticism for not living it, but I do tell those students, that if I gave you a car and it'd be the only car you get in the rest of your life, you take care of it like you can't believe. Any scratch, you'd fix that moment. You read the owner's manual. You keep a garage and do all these things, and you get exactly one mind and one body in this world. And you can't start taking care of it when you're 50. By that time, you'll have rusted out if you haven't done anything. So you should really make sure that you just remember that you just got one mind and body to get through life with and to do the most with it.
What about life advice?
Well, life advice is, the most important thing, aside from the things I've talked about already, is really who you associate with. You want to associate with people that are better than you are. I mean, basically, you'll go in the direction of the people that you associate with, and you want to have the right heroes. You want people, if you want to emulate somebody, you better pick very carefully who you want to emulate. And when, obviously, you can't pick your parents. They're going to have an enormous influence on you, but you don't get a choice on that. But you get choices as you go down the line, and who you admire, who you want to copy, and the most important for most people in terms of that decision is their spouse. It's also important in terms of a partner in business, but the partner in life is the most important one. You want to pick a spouse that's better than you are, and then he or she, and you hope they don't figure it out too fast.
Great. Biggest mistakes people make when investing?
Well, they try to. They just don't realize that all you have to do is just buy a cross-section of America and then never listen to people like me or read the papers or do anything subsequently. They think that because you can trade, you should trade. You buy a farm, you buy an apartment house, you can't resell it tomorrow, and the cost of moving around. Now you get something handed to you, liquidity, which is instant. You can sell, and the cost of doing it are pennies, compared to other kinds of investment activity. So because they can so easily move around, they do move around, and moving around is not smarter than investing.
You have a pretty cool morning routine regarding what you have for breakfast and how prosperous you feel. What is that? Well,
I now actually send somebody over to McDonald's usually to get me something. Since the publicity I got from earlier describing my habits at McDonald's, I now have somebody go in the office, but that was more for entertainment value. I eat exactly what I like to eat. If I liked it on my 6th birthday, at my 6th birthday party when we had hot dogs and hamburgers and Coke and ice cream with chocolate, I still like it. and I don't care about anything subsequently. I discovered it all by the time I was 6. If somebody had offered me a deal when I was 20 and said, you're going to live 1 year longer, instead of living to 88, you'll live to 89 or whatever it may be, if you eat nothing but broccoli and Brussels sprouts and onions and all these things. I just said, I'll take the last year off. It probably won't be that good anyway. So I eat what I like to eat. I'm not venturesome in that area.
I like how you lumped in onions with broccoli and Brussels sprouts. Never heard that.
I just don't happen to like onions, but I don't put them in the same category.
Okay. You and George H.W. Bush, I think. Is business school worth it?
Depends on the person. Much more than it depends on the school. I wouldn't worry. Some people are going to get a lot out of advanced education, and some people are going to get very little. And I don't even think it's important that every person go to college at all. We have all kinds of jobs at 70 or so thousand a year, or 80,000 a year, that college training is not of use. And I actually was not keen on going to college myself. Yeah, my dad kind of jollied me into it. He could get me to do anything. But if they'd had an SAT test in those days, he would have taken the test for me. But because I knew I could have a good time, and I liked investing, and I didn't really feel I could read the books. So I don't, it's a big commitment to take 4 years, and the cost involved, and maybe the loans involved, and everything. And I think, depending on what your interests are in life, I don't think it's for everybody. I think it's for a lot of people, but there ought to be a reason you're going, and I didn't really see much reason.
All right, last question. So lightning round, so it's a few. Do you ever drink water?
Only under duress.
What is your favorite all-time song, Warren?
My Way.
It's undoubtedly, it's My Way.
What about movie? Favorite movie?
Well, I like The Bridge on the River.
President Trump and Mr. Buffett eat cheeseburgers for breakfast. Mr. Buffett drinks cherry Cokes all day. Mr. Trump drinks Diet Cherry Cokes all day. Mr. Buffett's children say that they've never seen water touch his lips, ever. Mr. Trump doesn't drink water. I don't like water. Success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. Mr. Buffett's going to be 90 years old in a few days. I think the 28th. What day are we now? Okay, he'll be 90 in a couple of days. And doesn't believe in exercise. Success leaves clues. Now, I may be skipping some, but I don't know any multi-billionaires that have six-packs. You know one, tell me. Yeah, well, he was already worth $80 billion. I mean, he's, people that do that do it because they're not being successful in other places in their life. That's why they do it. Okay, who's my 530? 6. 5 or 6:30? No, I don't have 6:30. Okay.